Welcome to the podcast editing and support show. My name is Dave. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go. We're going to start the episode right now. Happy to have you here. Let's do this. All right, welcome back to the podcast editing and support show. It's Dave. Happy to be here with you again. And I'm excited to chat with you about your plans for when you hire somebody to work on your show. What should you consider? What should you keep in mind? Maybe you haven't even thought this through. And I just want to put something in front of you. Completely optional, but I want you to consider it when you're making your decision on who you work with and where they live. And how you can take your podcast editing and support requirements and invest locally. I think this is something that we really need to think about. Here in Canada, we're facing some pretty interesting times coming up in April. And I think it's about time that we think about where we invest our money, where we invest our resources, and who we hire as a podcast editing and support person. It's time to be very thoughtful in this decision. And as a Canadian, I'm focused on a Canadian answer, an alternative to where you might be investing your money. So if you're thinking about hiring somebody or you're thinking about making a change, I want you to consider this, especially if you live in Canada, that it's about time that we invested in where we live and the people we live around in our community before we go too far outside and spend our money elsewhere. It's just an opinion, take it or leave it, but I thought I'd share with you my thoughts as I'm thinking about how we can invest in our local community to help the people that we live next to when we're looking for help for our podcast. Here we go. So if you can't tell by my accent, I'm Canadian. I live in Ontario, Canada, near Niagara Falls, big hill, lots of water, no spoilers here. Despite the frequent April Fool's jokes, we don't actually shut off the falls on a regular basis and go clean up. No, it just kind of keeps running. It's a river. It's kind of what rivers do. So yeah, if you've ever been kind of fooled by some of those April Fool's jokes where they show pictures of Niagara Falls all shut down because, we shut down at night, we shut the water off. Those are questions we get all the time here. And no, it's not a frequent thing where we shut off the falls. Anyway, just dispelling that myth for you. If you're listening, you're like, I wonder if. No, they don't. We're at a very interesting point in where I live in relation to our U.S. friends, which I have a lot of American friends. I love my American friends. You guys are awesome. There's a lot of stuff going on in the news if you haven't caught on yet. And things are a little tense right now between us and our southern neighbors. And for us up in the top corner of Canada, northern neighbors. It's very interesting what's happening right now. And in our stores, when we go shopping and for groceries or whatever, there's little Canadian flags now showing up on price tags. And they identify Canadian-made products. And we're being encouraged in Canada to support Canadian products. Now, some things are going too far, I think, where they're pulling American products off of the shelf, which have already been purchased and bought, and they've been here in the country ready to go. And businesses are losing money because they're pulling American products off the shelf because you can't buy them now and putting them in the back room, I guess. And all that stuff's going to go to waste, which is a bad thing. So, but the idea is we're being encouraged to support local and take money that we would normally, without thinking much, just spend it elsewhere. And there's a concerted effort right now in Canada to support local. So when I'm thinking about the idea of supporting local, I'm thinking about what we do as podcasters and content creators and where we spend our money. Now, there's some advantages to spending money and working with someone in a different country, and the exchange rate allows you to get services done relatively inexpensively compared to what you would pay someone in your own country to do the work for you. And people kind of ship their work elsewhere and have other people do this. There's some advantages and disadvantages to this. A disadvantage could be time zone, where you're sleeping when they're awake and they're sleeping when you're awake. So communication can be a little hard. translation of English and kind of some of the things that your voice won't be replicated by someone else because they're not at the same proficiency of English maybe that you are at. But also there's a savings, again, like we mentioned, of money. I do love when I talk to content creators who don't do the minimum when they hire somebody offshore away from their country. So when you're in the US and you hire somebody in the Philippines, for example, I love when a podcaster pays way more than they need to and gives a living wage to that person that's helping them. I think that's amazing. I think investing in people like that is awesome. When you can take a rich US dollar, Canadian dollar, translates into a foreign dollar, and it's more money than they would make doing similar work and being paid locally. I love that. So I'm not against that by any means at all. I'm just saying that as we start to see our global situation change, there's all these talks of tariffs, and I don't want to get into all that, but I just see an opportunity for us to invest where we live. And if there's any part of your podcasting process, if there's any help that you need, maybe you need help getting on shows, maybe you need help doing artwork for your podcast, designing a website, all of these things are things that could really be offloaded onto someone else. And I just want to put a pause for you. If your natural tendency is just to look globally for support without looking locally, to rethink that. I think for our American friends that you should invest in your country. You should invest even in your state, in your city. Get as local as you can and pour that money into your community and give a living wage there. Now, I know a living wage in the US or Canada is going to be significantly higher than hiring somebody outside of the country. But at the end of the day, what are we trying to do here with our podcast? Now, I know there's a lot of people that are podcasters who do this on their own and they have no income really coming in and they're working a job and doing podcasting on the side. That's one group of people, but I'm talking more to the businesses who are hiring podcast services, who are investing in a marketing budget that used to be radio, that used to be bus bench signs or a bus placard on a bus, but they're taking that money back and investing it into podcasting because they're getting a better return and better engagement and a more focused audience with your money that you're spending to promote your services and whatever you're selling. Investing in podcasting just makes sense. We have better data than radio. Radio will tell you that we're talking to 3 million listeners. Well, you're not. There's 3 million people in that area, but not everybody's listening to the radio. We have other options, right? So we can tell you right down to the device, right down to the gender, to the location, and even how long they listen. Radio does not have that kind of information. It's all kind of pie in the sky. We think we might have this many people listening. And I know I've invested in radio ads for my business, my small business, and I put a lot of money into it on a monthly basis. I even did bonus things where I had a contest on a radio station and I got 0 interaction, even from the person who won. 0. Like, they didn't even come in and claim their prize. And it was money that came out of my bank account. Not my business, because it was a small business. Came out of my personal bank account. It was interesting. What I did was I did a contest where the winner would win $500. $250 to the winner and $250 to the charity of their choice, local charity. So they got to pick. And a person won, yay! And it was exciting. And then they selected the charity. We did the check. We had delivered it on behalf of the winner. And then we had $250 for this person in like store credit and come in and buy and shop and support Canadian products. And they just didn't happen. So what a waste, right? And we spent $500. We got all this great stuff and no traffic. Nobody came in. Nobody emailed us. Nobody followed up. No new customers, because it went out in the void. People are shopping in the grocery store, driving in the car, whatever, and the radio is background noise. Podcasts are companionship. It's a big difference. So if you're going to invest your money in any type of marketing, I'm asking you as a business to think about how you can invest in podcasting. It's a great tool for your business, your company, whatever you're working on, real estate agent, coach, mortgage broker, car dealership. A podcast makes sense. So take that marketing budget and put it to use for good instead of throwing it away, and put it into podcasting. And when you have a budget, you can then also use part of that budget then to hire services for your podcast and for what you're doing in your marketing. So think about how you can invest that money you would spend anywhere somewhere else, but investing it in podcasting, and then investing it locally and supporting people in your community that are there to service your podcast, your marketing, your support you and what you're doing. Think about a local person first. Now here's the gap, is how do we find you? So if you have a podcast editing and support service, how do I find you? How do I find a Canadian, for example, when I'm in Canada? And how do I find somebody in Niagara, where I live? It's very difficult. Without a website, without content, without promotion, it's very hard to find you. And I'm just looking for ways to support people in my community. And if they're not in my community, then I go to my province. And if I can't go to my province, I go to my country. And I try to find people who can do what I need. And I try to do as local as I can. So when you're thinking about starting and working with somebody, I know it might be easy, or you've done it in the past, where you simply go to these sites and you hire somebody outside of your country. And again, I love when people pay a living wage for that country, not just take somebody and have them work for you for the very small amount of money and you win, they lose. I love when you support people. So I'm not saying stop that, but I'm saying if you're thinking about starting or thinking about making a change, maybe what's happening for you in the past has not served you well, that as you create your requirements for your podcast, that you think of people who can support you locally and how you can invest in your community and how you can bring a living wage to people in your community, in your country, your province, your state, wherever you are. You think about investing locally. I just think in our global world right now, we all need to think about what we can do to help each other. And if you're looking for someone to work with you here in Canada, where I am, I do this for people. Now I do have US clients, which I work for and I love. So I'm kind of caught in the middle here of my conversation with you today, because I do support American creators and they're some of my best friends. And if they decided to move to a US creator, I would gladly encourage them to do so. But I do love working with them and I would hate to see them go. But I understand investing in your own community is really important for me. So if I lost any of my clients to a local service for that client, I would see that as a win, because that means I have room in my schedule and my time to help other people where I live. So if you're looking for someone in Canada and you want to invest your money in Canada with somebody who lives here, someone who can service you, understands Canadian perspective, is a proud Canadian, and loves my country, I'm willing to help you anytime. And right now I'm looking to fill 5 spots in my production services and what I do. Here comes the spiel, and it's free. I'm looking for 5 people, 5 businesses, 5 podcasts that I can help. Primarily audio is where I'm focused. I can do video, but I love audio. That's my main focus. But I'd love to help you, and I would like to do, let's say, a 3-month project with you, X number of episodes over 3 months. And what all I'm asking for is for you to give me a reference that I can put on my website. It's one thing for me to create my own content with my 9 different podcasts that I do myself. I do all my editing. I do everything myself. All my artwork, all my YouTube channel, my websites. It's all me. I do all of them. So if you're like, what does this guy do? TrueMediaSolutions.ca is my website for everything. And then podcasteditingandsupport.com is the website for this show. You can see what I do. And if you like it and you're looking for somebody, and maybe you're a new podcaster or you're a solo podcaster, independent, you don't have a huge budget, maybe no budget, but you need help getting started, I'm looking for five podcasts to work on. I already have a couple, and I love them, and we love working together. But I'd love to get a review from you for my services to you over, say, a 3-month period. And you can reach me at truemediasolutions.ca. Right at the top, you'll see that I'm looking for you, and I'd love to help you, especially if you're a charity. I love the idea of working with a charity. I've done that many times in my past, and charitable organizations are the heartbeat of what I love to do and who I love to serve. So if you're a charity and you're looking for podcast services, please, hands in the air. I'd love to help you. Let's think about how we can invest locally, invest in our community, invest in where we are and who we serve by selecting people that reflect us, our voice, our country, our community, our province, our state, our city, our region. And let's think about what we can do to invest locally and make that the first choice. And if we can't find somebody locally, then we expand globally. I think we need to reverse it from a global first perspective, where we need help, we go global first. I think when we need help, we go local first. Again, it's not that you're confined to that. Again, I go back to it one more time. I love when content creators give a living wage to a global service organization and invest in these people and make their life better. I just think that's a beautiful thing, and that you can leverage the dollar rate in your country, which benefits somebody in another country. It's still cost efficient for you, but it's huge for that person on the receiving end. I love that you do that. Please don't stop supporting people in that way. But when it comes to a point where you're like, I need to make a choice here, let your first choice be local. Let your second choice be global. Please think about what you can do to support your local community first. Invest where you live, and you'll see the benefits in your community. When we're being attacked from all different sides and all these things are happening in our world, it's nice when we can say, I know that my investment into the people who service my podcast benefits my community first. It's such a great thing. And I'm just encouraging you. It's what I'm thinking about in this moment as we come close to April, that I think we as content creators need to have a local first mentality before we go global, looking for support. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to know if you're working with a local company, how that's been. How was the search for you? Was it hard to find somebody locally? Let me know at podcasteditingandsupport.com. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Again, thank you so much for being here. Choose local, then go global, and invest in the people in your community first. And see what the results are. I'd love to hear your story. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening to the Podcast Editing and Support Show. Visit us at podcasteditingandsupport.com, podcasteditingandsupport.com. We would love to help you find a great podcast editor, or if you want to hire us, we would love to work with you. Podcasteditingandsupport.com. Catch you on the next episode. Take care.